Welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Doobyis. This is Fly in Formation, episode 143 this week. I started doing this interview series a couple years after I started doing my mix show. I do a weekly mix show called After the Smoke is Clear. On that show, I play 100% Canadian hip-hop, all new release stuff. I'm only interested in stuff north of the border. Sometimes the Americans sneak in if they're collabing with Canadians. But the focus is definitely on the Canadian scene. And, to learn more about the scene, I started doing this Fly in Formation interview series. And it's just flown by. We're 3.5 seasons through now. I feel like I'm, 2 degrees of separation from anybody in the Canadian industry at this point, from all the people I've talked to. And this week, my guest is Ghostboyrj. I want to say, what did your bio say? It was like Toronto born, Brampton raised, I think.
Yes, sir.
So MC, producer, label head, man with many hats. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. It's definitely a pleasure to be on the show.
Hey, thanks, dude.
Definitely heard about the show and seen a plethora of different shout-outs. Shout out to Fester, shout out to Roche.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in the community that we're connected to. We got a lot of mutuals. And yeah, I'm excited to get this conversation going.
Yeah, man. I will say, I was paying attention before Fester or Roshan told me to tap in. Like, I was doing the mix show. I started in 2018, I think. So there's 7 seasons of that now. And week to week, I do my best to pay as much attention as I can to, Fridays, I'm sitting here on Twitch listening through all the music. Sometimes it's 5 to 10 hours worth of new music dropping across the country. There's so much talent out there. And, the mission statement, I guess, for this show was just to kind of link up some of the fan bases, and not just the fan bases, but the artists themselves. One of my guests a couple weeks ago, I can't even think off the top of my head who it was. Maybe the Dirty Sample or somebody was telling me that, he finds other artists through my shows, and that's the dream come true, in my opinion. I mean, it would be cool to get a bag off of this or whatever, but to just build community, I think, the whole rising tide raises all ships, all that. We're doing what we can to just, everybody's pushing the same boulder up the same hill, and, more hands make light work, all those cliches. But yeah, man, I've been looking forward to talking with you for a while. Definitely been tapped in, playing your music, paying attention. Last year you did State of Mind on Smoke Something Radio with the Sixth Letter. Played the hell out of both of those projects on the show throughout the course of the year. Yeah. Are those new vinyl? I saw you on social media promoting that one.
So this vinyl, when we did the first run, we only did 50. The first 30 I had on hand. We sold those out. We have some of those in stores as well. Nice. So I was able to get my hands on the rest of whatever we have in stock. So we only got, I think, probably less than 10 of these left.
Damn.
So, get yours. Each one is a different color. Let me know what color you end up getting, depending on get your record. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely. This album plays a huge role in terms of just everything that we've been building up to. State of Mind, when I dropped that was right after I was releasing my trilogy, which was Behind the Light, You Never Know What You'll Find. With that record, that's kind of what, with What You'll Find, which is the last in the trilogy, that gave us the bridge to our connection with UrbNet.
Okay.
And they picked up the deluxe for the record, which we ended up getting on tape cassettes. And yeah, that was my first full LP, just getting vinyl, going on tour. So we did 3 stops in New York. We did 2 stops in Brooklyn, 1 stop in Harlem.
Nice.
That shit was crazy. And yeah, that whole experience was nuts, because I felt like everything that I was really trying to get prior to, I was seeing in those moments. and it was a crucial time to start reforming some of my goals. So like what I've been building up towards in terms of like the team, making sure that all the LPs are sequenced a certain way. All that came from the practice of rolling out that album.
Okay, nice. Let me ask you, how were the shows in New York? Was it different performing for a crowd in New York compared to anywhere else you'd been?
So what was crazy was like I went in with this like determination to be like, yo, regardless of where I'm at, I need to give them an energy that's grounded and let them know that like what we are developing is authentic. And
yeah,
I feel like the first show that was opening up for Henry Canyon's his album release, I was over there with Kills. And shout out to another artist slash producer that was on the roster. He goes by Drive By.
okay, it's a new name for me.
Yeah, check him out. At the time, he was putting out a project with Fatboy Sharif. He has a lot of different work, but he's an amazing producer. That was a crazy night. It was a packed venue. In terms of just like my first time there, the crowd was really responsive, really supportive.
Did it feel like extra pressure though, like walking into a venue in New York as, you know, someone from kind of a place where they don't expect hip hop to be coming from? I mean, yeah, Drake kicked in the door. People know that there is hip hop from Toronto, but like, yeah, I still feel like showing up in New York, it's got to be a little bit like, you know, Andre 3K at the Source Awards with the like the South has something to say kind of a statement, right? Like to show up from Canada.
I feel like every single night that I performed out there, I felt this really unique sense of ease, because it's not like, for example, in Toronto, you can go out to a show and like, let's say, while you're going through the circuit, you might be on a bill with like a bunch of different people that you might not like fit in the same sound sequence, but you guys are in the same circles.
Right.
So when you're going out and performing those songs and they might not have the same reference, if you can still get them to communicate with you and engage with you on the stage, when it translates towards somewhere where it's like, this is exactly where it's supposed to be, there was no problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It felt like...
That's the beauty of hip hop. It translates globally, right? You can go anywhere and flex the skills and people will respect it. Well, I mean, hopefully, right? Yeah. That's the dream anyway. But yeah, man, I mean, you know, you've been busy lately, like lots of albums, constantly doing the Friday night events. I guess just for people who don't know you, maybe let's rewind before we get into that stuff. Can you just kind of give like a bit of a history of your time in music, your journey into this space?
Yeah. So like growing up, our house was kind of like, it was kind of like a party space where like the family would come through, like we'd host a lot of different events, grew up around a lot of different barbecues, all these different things. And music was constantly in the equation. So like, I remember some of my first moments around hip hop were just like, they were usually R&B collabs, because my parents, like, they're both like straight from Jamaica. They're both like, they both moved here at different times in their teenage like youth.
Okay.
However, when they came down here, what they were listening to was a lot of reggae, a lot of dancehall, but also a lot of R&B. So like Biggie was one of my first rappers hearing. But before that, like in terms of just me personally, I was listening to a lot of rock music.
Right.
Like I remember being like middle school and early high school listening to like 3 Days Grace, Alexis on Fire, Sleeping with Sirens, all these different bands and stuff, and like
that angsty middle school shit.
exactly. But like that kind of began my journey because that's when I first picked up instrumentation.
Okay.
I used to play bass, electric bass, upright bass in grade 7 and 8. And then after that, in grade 10 and 11, 9 to 10, I was playing tuba because they had no strings in high school or at the high school that I was at.
I used to play tuba in band class too.
Oh, so you understand the pain.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Lugging that fucking monster of an instrument around. No, I was playing that in like even, I think it was like elementary school band. Cause I remember like walking, 10 blocks home, lugging a fucking tuba. It was just ridiculous.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's exactly why I stopped. You know what I mean? Like grade 10 was a pivotal year because that same year, I said, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of lugging this tuba around. But I like making music. At the time, I was working 2 jobs. I was like, you know what? I put my initial investment into the gear that fostered my whole career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still have that same microphone that I had when I first got all my gear. It's actually my preferred home mic. And from there, that was like 2016. I started just like recording on freestyles, only rapping. I would say as soon as like things like Distro Kid and those things became popularized in like 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
That's when I picked up actually publicly putting on my music. And around the same time, like a year later, 2019, right before the pandemic, is when I started learning how to produce.
Right. Okay. So was it extra pandemic time, extra downtime sitting at home that you were like, let's get at these pads then? Yeah.
It was like the pandemic was like a training ground because in that time, that's when I first met my mentor and homie Switch B. We were just like, we were cooking. And a lot of the things that at that time I wasn't exposed to, like, for example, like chopping records straight out the crate, like actually having somebody that can make something for me and not just like outsourcing off of YouTube and stuff.
Right.
Like,
BeatStars and stuff.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Like getting past that and having like a glimpse at that process started formatting the ways in which I work right now. But in that year, I remember 2020, I dropped 6 projects.
Damn.
That was just because, like you're saying, like you have all this time and you're like, you know what? Get to work.
Yeah. Are you as much of a lab rat in modern era as you were through the pandemic years?
Much more so, but different hats.
Okay.
Different hats.
Yeah.
I feel like just to give context, where now I have my own projects, but I'm also facilitating the admin on the whole roster, plus our events organization / anything else that we're doing on the ground level. There's a lot more delegating,
right.
But I would say like I'm always in the lab.
Yeah, always creating something. Yeah. So at what point in the kind of growth as an artist did you decide, that Ghostown Records needed to exist and that you wanted to be more than just an artist yourself, that, you could help facilitate other people's art, like you just said?
So 2020, that was the year GTR was created. My first, the first artists that were on the label other than myself, you should check him out, goes by JB Matches.
Okay.
He was somebody that was pivotal in the process of learning. I grew up with him. I've known him since I was in JK. And when it came to developing our style and also just like the things in which we would listen to, he was always there. So like by that point, I was in a flux where like I was putting together all these projects. I was getting into the swing of like consistency, and same thing. Like when you have resources and you have the information accessible, if you have people that can benefit from it around you, then you can develop your community further.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
definitely.
that was definitely a huge part of that.
So was there kind of like a mission statement for the label when you started it up? Like, are you trying specifically to help kind of artists who don't navigate that business side of things well, or for that matter, like what does a label even do in 2026? Because when people think about record labels, you know, they think about like, oh, the rapper gets signed to a record label and now he's paid by the record label to go record, and you know, like typically I think the average person thinks of the big $1 billion record labels or whatever, but what's the role of an indie record label in 2026?
I feel like nowadays, one key role for me and our label is development, network, resources, and actually like putting things out. I find with a lot of artists that are starting from the grassroots like approach, there is a lot of like smoke and mirrors when it comes to how to facilitate things. However, because like the music industry is a sandbox, there's no one size fits all method.
Right.
So where we're seeing this disdain for the system is because the system doesn't work in the same ways that it used to. There's no guarantees. And even alongside that, because of that smoke and mirrors aspect, a lot of what we've been conditioned to understand has been programmed. But the process in which it happens hasn't been programmed. Mm-hmm. So you have an expectation that's here, but they don't understand all the things that are happening in order to make this the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of my job is making realistic choices to show what's possible and expanding on what is actually like around us and utilizing that to create your universe.
Man, yeah, that's such a smart answer. Honestly, I didn't expect something with that depth. That's good, man. I think a lot of indie artists go into this game, you know, with big dreams and thinking that there's a great big bag of money that's going to be waiting for them kind of after their first album or after their first show or after their first tour. And it's like, you know, speaking from personal experience, trying to push my own music and then speaking to all these artists on Fly Information, like you said, there is no cheat code. There is no one size fits all answer to any of this. And there's no easy way. There's, you know, a lot easier ways to make money. That's something I've said my entire life than getting into music. I have always encouraged people to, like, you know, pick up a shovel and get yourself a job on the job site. And, you know, that's how you can pay your bills while you then have the freedom to pursue the dream of, you know, becoming some sort of global superstar that can live off the music and the money that the music brings in. But I guess for your personal journey, has becoming, you know, the head of a label and helping with that behind the scenes stuff, has that changed the way that you promote your own music and put your own persona out into the world?
Well, I wouldn't say, because like I would say that informed it, but like, for example, I did a few years before dropping out. I did a few years doing business administration marketing.
Okay.
And I've also done like a handful of business artist development programs. such as like Soundstock, Manifesto Business Program, Rough Draft, all these different things where like you got to see the inner workings of the industry on different levels.
Are those last three like
like
specifically designed for artists to learn
correct.
how to do the business side? Okay, nice.
So like the last three, those ones definitely like connected me with more mentors that are still to this day working in the industry, as well as just like a viewpoint or an outlook that I wouldn't say changed the way I look at it. It expanded the way I look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I feel like because of that, there's no one size fits all. You have different ways in which you can position yourself. And I feel like where we have a very unique situation with GTR is it's hard to position something that isn't necessarily like tailored for one specific audience.
Right.
When we're listening to like for example, Celine's a producer on the label.
Yeah.
When you hear Celine's beats, when he remixes anything, he changes the environment and the way that the song works.
I'm glad you pronounced that dude's name first because I've never heard anybody say it out loud, and I would have definitely said Celine. But yeah, yeah. Shouts to Celine. You guys did a project together a few years back, right?
Yeah.
I saw a quote actually where you talked about how that album was kind of like it marked a point where you felt like your lyrics and beats had finally perfectly aligned or something along those lines. Is that something that you feel like has carried on, or was that like a special project in itself?
What you'll find is a special project because when I was making that project, there was also a lot of other like major life changes that were happening. And like, for example, like my transition to Toronto, or like really creating a footing in the area that I was in and like expanding my reach. All those were happening simultaneously, but throughout whatever hardships were happening, there were like key moments that kept on showing me that we're on the right track. And like one of those moments were like, for example, when I first moved to Toronto, in that week, Pudge God, who's now on the label, he hit me up to do a feature. And in the session that we were at for that day, Griffall was there. Me, him, he tells me to come through to Flip a Beat Club. I go to Flip a Beat Club. I meet Raz for the first time, but also I meet Six.
Yeah.
And when I met him, instantly, I started playing him some beats, and some of those beats are actually on Smoke Some Radio. This was in 2023 when that happened.
Okay, yeah. Just stuff from the vault that you had already cooked up. Nice.
So like, there was that progression in terms of finding like my voice over top of Celine's production, because it was, I didn't have to think when it came to the writing of that, and actualizing my confidence when it came to the beats. So that is literally what brought us towards putting together a State of Mind right after.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. So when did the UrbNet connection happen? Was that shortly after you moved to Toronto, or?
Same album, same time.
Yeah, okay. And they basically handle like the digital and physical distribution? Is that my understanding there, right? Okay. And so was that something you reached out to make happen, or how did that come together?
So my first time hearing about UrbNet, I remember there was an artist that was performing at a show with Spenny and Eric Gordon.
Okay.
And while I was out there, I remember like I was currently doing what's it called? An artist development program where I was just learning about some of the stuff that I might need in the future. And distribution has always been at the top of the list because my biggest gripe with the independent system is just a lack of communication. Mm. So when I found out that there's like outlets in order to like speak with people, actually show them like your step by step and collaborate on the process, that's when I started inquiring on different places. So like one of the first distribution places that I was looking at was purely digital. It's called Believe. Believe was one. I looked into Symphonic. I looked into Orchard. And then after that, I started going down the indie list. And UrbNet just kept on coming back up in conversation. And where it was finalized was with my conversation with Fresh Kills. I hit him up. I was like, yo, I know you have your relationship with them. And my favorite producer of all time, in terms of just like, other than Switch, which I made a lot of the style with, is Eloquent. Okay. He's also with UrbNet too.
Yeah.
So when I hit him up, I was like, yo, Kills, like, I would like, let me know your experience because this is something I'm looking into. I want to start the conversation. And yeah, I remember initially when we first reached out, it was just like starting up the conversation, introducing myself. And when I sent him over the deluxe version for What You'll Find, that's when you're like, yeah, like, let's test it out. Let's put it out, see what we can do. It went really well. To this day, in terms of just like radio, it's one of my highest streaming like projects that gets played. But yeah.
So when you said like the one of your biggest gripes with the indie scene is a lack of communication, is having a centralized hub like that, like UrbNet, where there are a bunch of other talented artists, does that kind of help solve that problem? Like, is that cosign just important for helping to share fan bases?
I feel like what's more important is for me being able to talk to somebody if there's anything that we need to troubleshoot, if there's anything I want to put out, like actually being able to have a conversation with somebody, right, knowing I could call somebody at any time, that's good. DistroKid used to have a call service, you know what I mean? And they streamlined it with the, I think they have a bot service, an AI chatbot or something.
Likely, yeah.
That was never my forte because I'm very hands-on, especially with my releases. Those are all important to me. So being able to talk to somebody and also like the opening up of more channels, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, artistry is so personal that it would be weird discussing too many artistic problems or, problems like that with an AI chatbot as compared to, an industry person who actually knows the ropes and has done it before. Yeah, AI is still lacking big time, I think, in a lot of those categories. But yeah, man. So I wanted to ask you, well, you know what? You mentioned meeting Gritfall and meeting Raz and Sixth. I've seen those guys on projects that you've dropped, and of course you and Sixth did the entire Smoke Something Radio album together. Is Baker's Club, is that model something that you've taken any inspiration from, or was that just kind of a parallel? Phoenix rising from the Toronto underground at the same time that the Ghostown Records was.
It's so funny because when I started GTR, at the time I was still living in Brampton.
Okay.
I didn't get exposed to the scene until later on that same year. And that was via Switch, and still at the time, because it was the pandemic, the scene wasn't really the scene that it is right now. You know what I mean? So, like, in that time, I was learning about a lot of different things that were happening. However, my main inspiration when it came to putting together GTR was watching the Soulquarians, watching Pro Era, watching Odd Future, all these collectives, and understanding that, like, because before I dropped out of school, one of the most important classes I ever took was patterns of popular music.
Okay.
And every single time you're seeing, like, any sort of, like, sound or community, you're always seeing, like, a band of them together. They don't necessarily have to be a collective. They don't necessarily have to be from the same cloth either. However, these things happen at the same time. And because they're happening in tangent with each other, when you're finding out about every single person's niche, it just adds on to the ethos of what everything is happening at the same time. So, like, with GTR, that was made in 2020. 2022, I think it was, when Raz put out Secret Wars.
Right.
That was my first time seeing them. You know what I mean? I remember when I first met Six and we first started kicking it, like, he was teaching me a lot of the lore that was happening. Because these were a lot of things that, like, I wasn't around for. Because, well, for one, what's it called? Early blog era, I was, like, 2011, I was 11 years old.
Sure, yeah.
So, like, I wasn't outside. I didn't get to see whatever was happening until, like, a few years later, and it's always been catching up on what I've been missing. But I would say a year after seeing all the different, like, pivotal branches or just, like, pillars in the scene.
Yeah, there's a lot bubbling in Toronto underground right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would say, like, the scene is really healthy. The scene is really healthy. There's a lot of quality music coming out of here. The collaborations are happening a lot more. I feel like, going back to what you're saying in terms of the mission statement, that for us was just bridging the gap. I felt like coming from Brampton, and even now, like, it's gotten a lot better, but I've seen that, like, there's a lot of pocket communities in music, period.
Yeah.
And, like, that's where it's very hard for us to have this, like, umbrella to be under, because us as a collective, we navigate in between all of them. It's not because, like, we're trying to, like, get in with the in crowd. It's just we have a sound that is tailored for what we're inspired by. And a lot of us are inspired by each other.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think Toronto's scene is strange to me as just, like, an outsider looking at it and, you know, studying what's going on. Because, like, when you hear, you know, the bloggers from America talk about the Toronto scene, they talk about the guys who are doing, like, the street trap sound, melodic sound, and they talk about that as Toronto sound. And to me, like, Toronto has, you know, like you said, a number of different sounds, of course, but the one that I hear most prominently, and that, of course, I gravitate toward playing most on my show, is the more underground, kind of rooted in tradition boom bap sound that there's a lot of really dope lyricists in Toronto, and you know, they come at that sound from different angles, but it's not the one that gets the most mainstream press or talk about it. And I sometimes just scratch my head and think, like, what's the separation there? Like, why is it that the one scene gets all this attention, and anytime the international community looks at Toronto, they're only looking at those guys? But, like, really, there's a lot of talented dudes who do numbers and, like, you know, go out and do tours around the world and are out doing shows and, you know, are active in the community, dropping projects all the time. And it just gets overlooked. Like, do you guys need to buy more stream numbers so that people look at the Spotify accounts and say, oh, this is what's popping in Toronto? Or like, how could that move happen?
Well, I feel like that in itself is a natural duality for just like the culture as a whole. Because if we look back in between, like, well, if you look at the 80s, you have like De La Soul, but you also have NWA.
Right.
NWA was getting more recognition.
Sure.
90s,
yeah,
we have Tribe, but we also have Biggie and Tupac. They're definitely getting more recognition. 2000s, Jay-Z and 50 Cent, but we still had Mos Def and Talib Kweli.
Right.
But when you're looking back, and the reason why I say time is crucial is because there is no prominence of the Toronto street sound without its foundation. Even back in the day, if we go back to like, for example, super throwback, but like a Young Tony, you know what I mean? We're hearing that freestyle. He's spitting his ass off.
Yeah.
But at that time, like, that created the foundation for which a lot of these guys that are coming out right now are standing on. But there's only certain things that are taken. So I feel like when we're looking at popularity and just like who can cut through,
yeah,
there's definitely still like really prominent cases that don't get as much light. Like, for example, like a John Kabongo,
yeah,
or like if you look at like Insight and For the Tribe.
Hey, let me ask you a question that's a little bit random here, but are John and Patrick Kabongo brothers? I see music being released from both of them, and I have no idea whether they're affiliated or if this is just two different guys who happen to have the last name Kabongo.
Yeah, there's well, like, I would have to ask because, yeah, just like you're saying, there's a lot of people with the last name Kabongo, and like, for example, even Shad's last name is Kabongo.
Oh, okay. So maybe it is just a common last name. Okay. Well, sorry to derail things. That's just, I thought, ask somebody who's in the scene and might actually know these people, but yeah. Dude, I wanted to talk about kind of just the scene building that you've been doing, man, and get you to speak more on kind of what GTR Fridays are about and what goes on at GTR Friday.
Well, it's, for context, it is GTR Wednesdays.
Oh, it changed, or maybe I saw wrong. Maybe I'm sorry.
No,
Apologies.
What's it called? So every single Wednesday since the top of 2024, we've had sessions from 5 p.m. onward. It's been our hub in terms of translating the foundation which we built this all on, which is our auction and cook-up series, and then translating it over here into our weekly studio sessions. So it's a collaborative space where it doesn't have to be all of the team members. Sometimes you have days where it's literally all the team members, but like, we'll all assemble. Sometimes we're coming through and we're just sharing music. Sometimes we have clear objectives. Like, for example, all of May, that's dedicated towards the creation of Matrix. Matrix is the homies' compilation from Collective Conscious. He goes by Saints. That's an annual thing that he does where every single May, beats are made, everything's recorded, mixed and mastered, and put out at the end of the month.
Nice.
Strict time crunch when it came to that, but like, that's something that happens there. Sometimes if we're working on a project like the one that we're going to be releasing this summer, Groove Path, that's something that like we started from, I would say, last November. And that was right after the release of the first compilation being Loop Path. Both of those are the culmination of our studio sessions. We take our time when we're putting these together because although we have so much artists, so much music, we want to shave it down so that you're getting like a snapshot for the time being. And we're rounding this series off with a third one that's going to be releasing after Groove Pack. However, even the whole concept of it, like Loop Pack represents the team being formed and expanding. So in itself, it's the repetition. It's the discipline that comes with that, which is why we call it Loop Pack. And then Groove Pack, because now we're going into our third year in January. Now we are literally in the groove of it. We already know what we're doing. We can expand on the things that we want to introduce, build in more hooks, and make it grander.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So are these, like, is there an audience element to this, or is this artist-based meetups specifically for the artists to come and just cook together? Like, do you stream it even, or what do the studio sessions look like?
So sometimes we'll stream it. Most times we usually have a couple different homies with VHS cameras that are documenting the whole session. In terms of the space itself, I would say it's a collaboration of the two. Sometimes we have guests that just sit in, or artists that like, they might like really fuck with us, but sometimes they just want to kick it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they'll come through, they'll see the process. They might just like give live feedback here and there, or just like chop it up with some of the homies on the team. But it's really a space where we just gather, and you can feel the energy in the room. Like when you walk in there, it's welcoming. Everybody in there is from different walks of life, but it doesn't matter because what matters is the music.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. I love that. So I've seen you quoted talking about how some of your favorite albums are cinematic and very cohesive, and you know, how you like to make projects in that same vein that kind of give the audience something to connect with and sit with as a whole, instead of as a kind of disconnected group of songs, or just as a bunch of random songs. When you design a project with that in mind, like, is the starting point normally a group of beats that sound the same, or do you start with like a, you know, word-based idea in your mind of like what you want the album to come together like, or what's the starting point when you want to craft a cohesive work like that?
So I would say there's like I have two different mindsets when it comes to that. On the producer end, what I'm really thinking about is taking an idea, fleshing out the idea into its own world. With Smoke Sound Radio, it's that. With Incense with Ida, it's that. With Life is What You Make It with Joey, same thing with State of Mind. Even Cartoons and Cereal, even though it's spread out across different projects or different songs and producers. However, like, when it comes to the other hand, that's more lifestyle adjacent. So like, I would say an album like, there's one joint that I produced called Lessons on Old School Road. It's full LP from JD Matches that I put together. That in itself is a lifestyle album because it, also to make another reference, if you ever heard, what's it called? Elzai, he has an album called Witness My Growth.
Okay.
Throughout that album, you can hear him from when he started up until where he's at currently. And Lessons on Old School Road is the same thing. When we first started GTR, up until 2024 when we dropped that LP, he had songs that were made across that time. And because he has a different cycle in which like he makes his music, that is a snapshot of itself. So when I'm making bodies of work like that, I'm really just trying to preserve the feeling of whatever that lifestyle exhibits. And I'm also thinking about the environments in which like that lifestyle is actually being played. You know what I mean? So if it's a car album, like it's gonna be super boomy. Like I like my mixes because I do a lot of the engineering for our projects.
Right.
I like my mixes and my masters deep and heavy in the car. I like hearing things that kind of give me a bit more inspiration from like dub music, from old Jamaican tracks, where like you're hearing the mixes and they're larger than life. And then like when taking all those elements together and then pinpointing it for either an artist that I'm working with or myself, I'm just taking all of those assets and just like rounding them out with live interactions or engagements. So they can be shows, they can be listening events, they can be activations or pop-ups, whatever it is, in order to like really create the vibe for where the music is going to live.
That makes sense, man. So yeah, let's talk a little bit specifically about your newest project that's on the market, Cartoons and Cereal. I think it was late March or something like that. It's been out for a few months now. What's the reception been like for that?
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that process in itself was hilarious.
Like the recording process of the album?
The recording, like the production in terms of doing all the videos and the skits. It was fun. And I feel like if I want to leave the listener with something when it comes to that album, is that you can still make music and have fun with the process.
Man, yeah, that's I picked that up listening to it. Honestly, I've got a question written out here. It sounds to me like you were evoking kind of nostalgia of Saturday morning cartoons and like going back to a time when people could relax and be carefree, and concentrate on some shit that doesn't really matter. And that vibe then brought forward and applied kind of to the grind of like everyday life and being an indie artist and all that shit. It contrasts a lot with, like we were saying earlier, a lot of indie artists who kind of, you can tell, are here because they're very serious about getting the bag. They're here to get the bag, and there's no fucking around that's going to stop them from getting that bag. It's knocking out hits is the intent of some of them. And this project sounded, in contrast to that, like, something where you were just making music for fun and genuinely enjoying it and going back to a day when, there was less worry involved in day-to-day life, maybe, kind of.
Yeah. No, I would say you hit it right on the nail. Like that project, because like, especially when you're looking at the contrast in between that and State of Mind, and both of those albums, well, I started making Cartoons and Cereal before State of Mind. CNC came right after I finished the What You'll Find Deluxe. But while I was trying to figure out what beat I wanted to land on, like Cartoons and Cereal for me, I ended up just putting together a new album. Because I was like, I like all these beats, but they don't necessarily fit in this realm that I'm trying to create.
Right.
So I put CNC to the side. I started putting out State of Mind, started rolling that out with the intention of that one being darker on purpose.
Yeah.
When you get to CNC, I wanted it to be refreshing. I wanted it to be something where, like, when you come through, you can listen to it, you can watch the skits, whatever it is, and get the same intention.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? And
it came across, man. Yeah.
I'm glad, because like we're going to be taking it another step forward. depending on when this is going to be aired.
I'll get it online within a few days anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more information available. However, I'm excited to get some of these played on the big screen. I mean, a lot of these skits, especially for CNC, we did 3 production days, 8 hours each. Everything was smooth. All of our actors came on time. Like, there was never a day where people were not laughing. Every single shoot was fucking just amazing. And like, when it came to even the editing process, because with our media team, I have Gonzalo, his production company's called Nine Now. Hit him up if y'all want some video.
Is he a musician too? I recognize, I've seen an artist named Gonzalo out there, and I can't find background info on the guy. Are we talking about the same dude, maybe?
Not the same dude. Not the same dude.
Different one. Okay.
Yeah, Gonzalo's from Azores Island next in Portugal.
Okay.
But he, like, when we first linked up was at the beginning of like State of Mind. So Black and Blue was the first video that we did together. And from there, we started developing the formula that translated to CNC, where like he would shoot. And then after that, like by the end of the day, if he was here and uploading onto my computer or uploading it to Google Drive, he could send it to me and I would have it edited in 24 to 48 hours.
Nice. Quick, fast.
I mean, and for everything that was done from State of Mind and Cartoons and Serial, all those videos I edited on CapCut. I did them on my phone.
Okay.
For some reason, the phone app works faster, but like, yeah.
Hey, I mean, phones are powerful these days, man. You can do some pretty cool stuff on phones. Were the visuals, like going into starting those projects, did you always know that the visuals were going to play a big role?
State of Mind was like updating our resource pool to like work with that formatting. However, with Cartoons and Serial, that was something that we already had the full intention of developing everything that we needed. Sure. So like with CNC, we started putting together the idea of all the skits, I would say like a year before. 6 months prior to shooting, we started like the presentation deck in terms of how everything would be set. After that, I was really lucky. My partner, she also works in film and theater, and she helped me develop the full look and feel for the actual project in terms of all the skits, all the inspirations, song by song, like what we were going to be using for all the commercials. Nice. And yeah, like after that, when we went to shooting, it was just, yeah.
How about the cover art? Who drew the cover art for that one?
So the cover art was actually done by, well, I was just getting a call, funny enough, from the homie Fate B. He's a producer that really close to the homies, really close to the family. Also GTR adjacent. I met him when I met Switch, because he's also a member of a crew that Switch is on called Netcrack. That's consisted of Switch B, Fate B, and KO Strat. All are wicked. You should definitely check them out.
I know KO Strat, that his name sounds familiar, and I've seen Switch B. I've seen that name around. Yeah, couldn't name the songs off the top of my head or whatever, but yeah, I've seen that name.
Yeah, you'll like Switch is on this album. Switch is on the last one, but he's on the intro for Lupac. and Fate has 2 beats on Loophack as well. But Fate B has a company called MPC, Melting Pot Collective, and he runs that with his partner Sabrina. They've been doing that for years. Serena does a lot of the animation and illustration, and Faye does a lot of the graphic design and all those elements, as well as production.
Shouts to supportive partners who, help with the creative endeavors. That's huge. I wanted to ask you about, first off, did you do all the beats on Cartoons and Serial?
So, CNC, I only did the intro. That was executively produced by my homie Jake.
Okay.
So Jake, etc. He's also another producer on the team. He was the one that herded all the beats together. I would say with the exception of the joints from Vinny Cousins and the song with Eloquent, Viewers. But everything else, he got, while we were making the project, I told him to essentially go to each producer, get a pack from each one of them. We went through them all together, and we selected one from each, which gave us the making of our project. Man,
that's a slick way to put together an album that has a bunch of different producers on it and still maintain some form of cohesion. Because, yeah, once you start, I mean, I think there's a big trend to do kind of like one MC, one producer on an album type albums lately. I see a lot of that. And I think once you step away from that and start incorporating a bunch of different producers, it can start sounding like a mixtape real quick.
100%.
Whereas you guys came away and I'm still, I was just clicking to see the production credits on Spotify or whatever earlier today or whatever. And who knows whether those are right or not. So that's why I had to ask, but it sounds like they were all produced by the same person or could have been produced by the same person. They're all in the same ballpark anyways. Yeah, man, I guess I did want to ask you about kind of your own production influences though. Which I can't segue to as nicely as I would have been able to if you had done the beats on that project. But, yeah.
Nah, I think that's definitely still informative because when it comes to choosing beats, I'm using a different hat. I'm usually using my artist hat, and where my producer hat comes in clutch is essentially the cohesion factor. That's pivotal for me. There needs to be a resonance in the way that it's sequenced.
Right. In your own production, who would you name as production influences? I saw, some influences like Mac Miller and guys like that that were listed as influences on you in general, but from the production side of things, who are some of your favorite producers who have kind of inspired you?
So when it comes to production, I would say it's kind of funny. At first, being outside of the scene, it was Switch, it was Eloquent, Dilla, Madlib, Pete Brock, After One, so many of these different underground producers that I was just tapped into, for whatever reason. And after that, once being introduced to the scene, a lot of the inspiration now comes from the homies.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, like Celine, Heartbeats, Jake, etc., Fade B, Pudge God, Kizlo, oh my God, Seven Heads, these are all just homies on the clip, and all of them are monsters.
Are a lot of those guys who frequent the Flip a Beat? That was the name of that event, right? I've heard
Beat Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to a lot of those the flipping beat clubs. I remember the first one that I went to, I went with Celine and Jay. Um, they've been going from time. I remember, I think the first one or the one that Griffall got recruited at, they were at. So like they were frequenting those spaces a lot. I only started getting introduced to like the Flip a Beat Club world, the Loop Sessions world, all these different spaces in like 2022 and 2023.
Okay. Was that where you met Roshan too? I remember Roshan telling me about linking up with you, but I do one of these interviews every week. I forget shit. It is what it is. I didn't go back and watch for homework this week.
So funny enough, where I met Roshan, like it was 2022. We were at Lalo when it was still the bar. It was the first show that GTR ever put together. I think we only had like 7 people there, and he was one of the 7 people.
Dope.
It was lit. I was like, okay, like fucked in terms of the audience, but like afterwards, I remember he came up to us and he was like, "Yo, you guys are actually really dope." Like, and from there, we just said, "Okay, let's get this shit moving." And I remember the next year at the same venue at Lalo for the Behind the Light listening party, we had that place ran.
I was just going to ask, like, from, I think everybody who's in this scene has been to some shows where there's 7 people at the pub or whatever that was booked. What do you think the difference between that show and the PAX show is? Is it momentum and, repetition and building a base, or is it something about the promotion actually?
I don't think, because like, for example, I'm just speaking on me personally, but if something comes to my radar, let's say a month prior to, I'm not gonna actually like lock it in because it's too far away. There's so much things happening at the same time. I feel like when it comes to like live engagement, the only way to really guarantee people is how you foster your community. I feel like if you have rapport and these are people that you're actually like hitting up, whether it be through like different pieces of music, collaborations, or just like engaging, showing up, like these are actual things in real time that you can do, and you don't have to cut through the smoke and mirrors of online.
Yeah.
And like that's been important for us since our inception, because like our whole thing is how we foster our community.
So like getting out to actually, boots on the ground, shaking hands in person, you're saying is just that much better than promoting online?
It's a higher guarantee, because if you have that rapport and then you put something up, people are going to show up, rather than hitting up online, dropping a bunch of ads, but you don't actually like know the people that you're dropping the ads at.
Yeah. And people seeing paid advertisement on somebody's, show poster that they don't know of only goes so far. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about this, man? I noticed most of your projects they play, listening through a few of them over the last few days, they play quickly. I find myself like, I was listening to them as I'm cooking or whatever, and suddenly somebody else's music is playing for a couple songs, and I'm like, oh shit, the album's over, I guess. Okay. So like go and check how long it was, and like, yeah, you got some 20-minute albums and some, 30-minute albums. What would you say is the perfect length for an album in 2026 when, a lot of the artists I talk to are debating like whether they should just be doing singles because nobody has any attention span anymore? Like,
I think that I feel like that mindset works contrary to what it's supposed to be doing. Because I feel like, for example, think about the psychology behind conditioning. If you're curating an audience and all they can expect from you are single offerings for the sake of consistency, how are we creating a conversation around the music?
Right.
If I give you a project, it's short, but you get the idea and you get the point. Now, because you got that project, not only can you pick the joints that you'd want to add into your personal selection, if it fits a specific vibe, now you have a backdrop for a specific thing that you're doing. So if it's cooking, if it's riding your bike, if it's your transit from A to B, you have something to be the environment that you're living in your headphones.
Yeah.
So like when I'm thinking about music, I'm thinking about the experience every time.
So more so than actually choosing a length, you're just doing what the album needs done, and however long it happens to be, that's how long it's going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with shorter albums, because if you're looking at like, just like we're talking about attention spans.
Yeah.
If I give you an album where 12 songs are about 1:30 to 3 minutes long, each song, you're going to replay the album. If it's 3 minutes, I have 3 verses or however many verses on each track, and you're sitting with that album, if it's like, if it has to take you more than one time to get through the whole thing, the interest upon the first listen dips.
Right. Yeah, you don't want people getting bored and turning it off, right? That's the last thing anybody wants from putting an album out. Yeah.
Captivating that moment in that time that you're given. I think if attention spans are shorter, then what we should be delivering are experiences that people can digest. However, giving them something like that either gives them a new worldview, a new POV, or giving them something that they can relate to that they've already seen.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of, well, the nostalgia, I don't know. You don't want to retread, but hip hop is based on paying homage to the inspirations and kind of drawing those inspirations into the frame a little bit more than a lot of genres would, right?
Yeah, it's literally about making it your own.
Yeah.
Like the whole culture around how this music was even derived, like it started from DJs coming through and curating spaces. Aside from the music, aside from whatever was happening, there was a space for different people to come through and whether it be express themselves, whether it be just being themselves and feeling like they were included, you were invited to these spaces and you were engaging with them live in person. Yeah.
And then the DJs started to kind of capitalize and build off of what they noticed people were enjoying the most at those spaces, right? Like they like the break. Look at those moves these guys are doing on the break. Well, what if I spin it back, break. Yeah. And there you go. Hip hop is born.
It's always adapting.
Yeah, right. Dude, we're over an hour now. I appreciate your time here, but I want to ask a few. Well, I got one more question here that I've been asking producers specifically.
Also, if you have more time, like I'm chilling.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I've got a segment here after this that a few more things to talk about after this. But let me ask you this about production. With AI elbowing its way into the music space, whether anybody likes it or not, do you think that there is any place in hip hop production for the use of AI? Because I've heard guys talk about how, and not anybody I've talked to on the show, but I've seen other producers talk about like, well, yeah, you can avoid sample clearances if you get AI to generate a thing and then sample that. And I was like, maybe that's okay. I don't know. You know?
So in my opinion, I understand AI as a tool. However, I don't co-sign or even like to like creation of music. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that I've been seeing. However, for me personally, I feel like if it's something that we really want to do and invest that much into, there's the reinterpolation. There's so many different things at your disposal just in terms of access in order to create something new or something that is your own.
Yeah.
And I feel like with all those tools at your disposal, to bypass the creation of that with something automated feels like you're turning off a piece of your brain.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And just to be clear on my own personal position, I don't think it has any place in music. But, you know, I'm waiting for someone to give me the argument on maybe why it does or something. I'm open to hearing opposing viewpoints, but no. Right now I'm on some shit where like, yo, we got to burn these fucking data centers down before they all go in and they release the robots on us. That's my tinfoil hat theory right now. Is they want these things up quick so that they can fucking release the robots on their opposition.
You know what? Actually, and in terms of like the tool aspect of it, I would say one good tool that we've seen from it is like, for example, only from State Property.
Beanie. Yeah, Beanie Siegel. With his voice.
And being able to actually utilize his voice again, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, or like the DOC who went through his windshield and got glass in his voice box or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Accessibility, I feel like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, no, that's a cool use of it, I guess, because it can actually like, you know, base itself off of their already existing work and recreate their voice specifically. It's not just like some amalgamation of everyone else's work in the world together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a positive use of AI as a tool.
Sure.
Because now you've made it more accessible for this artist to tap back into what they already do.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But anything else, I stray away from.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I've got a current events section where, you know, lately for the last, I don't know, maybe this whole half of the year, I've been asking pretty much everybody I talk to. I know some artists don't like talking politics or don't get political, don't want to express any viewpoints. That's fine if you want to shy away from this one. But any thoughts on what's going on in America right now? I like opening the door for people in case they do want to have a rant about any of this. And as a follow-up to that, would you still do shows in America? You mentioned doing some shows in New York already, in Boston.
So me personally, like, I can only speak on, like, I have a very limited viewpoint. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on over here. And I feel like, for example, like, I try not to get too caught up with American politics, because I feel like it keeps us away from like current and present problems that are happening to us right now.
Right at home.
But at the same time, I can say that, yeah, there's definitely some things that are fucked up that are happening, for sure. That's unquestionable.
Over here in Alberta, it feels a little bit more pressing because right now I'm fairly sure that there's a foreign-funded influence campaign trying to convince people that Alberta should separate. have lived here 39 years and no one's ever said to my face, hey, Alberta should separate.
I was actually going to ask about that because I did see that come up recently and I didn't really know the context. But funny enough, I seen it while I was in Montreal.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, no, it's big news. There was just a global story about how a lot of the fucking accounts that are on Facebook talking about like, oh yeah, we should separate are actually like based in, you know, various foreign countries, and like they're just people capitalizing on like making money off of a hot button issue that they know will get engagement. So like Meta's actually paying them out because they get so much engagement. That was the story. There were 14 different accounts, and I don't know, a while back the CBC exposed some guys in Holland who I think had racked up like 40 million views making fucking just AI slop about how Alberta should separate. So yeah, there's definitely some outside forces pushing this whole narrative. And if you ask me, it's, you know, MAGA and the tech billionaires and people that want our oil. If you look at the three biggest oil reserves in the world, it goes Venezuela, Iran, and then Alberta. So you do the math on where they're coming next. I think they're trying to sow dissent and divide our country and get people to open the door and willingly accept the MAGA takeover when when they want that to happen. But, you know, again, this is maybe tinfoil hat stuff, but it's tinfoil hat stuff that seems like it's, you know, quite probable and quite realistic.
Hey man, a lot of the people that were called crazy back in the day are looking smart right now. So
yeah, a lot of that stuff does come true. You know, the pattern recognition is strong. It's easy enough to see where some of this shit's going to. But yeah, man, I do after that current events section, I like to do a section of this show called How Important Is, and I'm just going to rapid fire some kind of conversation starter questions. These are things a lot of the time guys laugh and say like, there's no right answer to that. And like, yeah, they're designed to have no right answer for sure. Some of them have like a popular consensus, you know, like, let's do this just to start it off. How important is a good stage show?
Really important.
Yeah. Pretty popular consensus on that one.
I think if you're like, I've seen, like, for example, looking at Rolling Loud recently, the reception behind that, like, unfortunately, there was a lot of performances that happened, and I feel like where it's unfortunate is, like, because the value of an artist kind of is limited to their numbers, if you're able to supplement your numbers for your live stage show and you had no artist development in your stage show, but now you're getting bookings, videos and festivals, how do you prepare? The
artists with those viral moments that, you know, then they draw a huge crowd and people only know the 10-second clip from their most famous song or whatever. And yeah, that would be a bit of a nightmare, I think, to be thrust into that position, like you said, with no like buildup of skills to deserve that position. But there's a lot of people out there chasing it, so I don't know, I guess maybe that's their dream rather than my nightmare. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've also heard that in the same realm, like, if like what the concept of what makes a good show now is different, because, like, for example, if you look at anybody from like Opium on Playboy Cardi's imprint.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people in that reign or under that umbrella, they're performing on their backing tracks, but they can still get a crowd lit. I mean?
Right.
So, like, I feel like if whatever you're doing, if you're able to captivate your audience in what makes necessary, I think you should hone into that. Sometimes that's the energy. Sometimes that's your stage presence. Like, for example, all media talking about Jay-Z's freestyle at the Roots Picnic.
Yeah.
Like, that's an example of just stage presence. You know what I mean? But, like, that with other factors in mind propels what you can do. Like in Travis Scott. Like, Travis Scott, same thing. Like, he's jumping around and doing his thing, but if he has everybody in that crowd lit and they're buying tickets and they're buying his merch, he put together a good show.
Yeah. Yeah. People are obviously doing something right if people are buying tickets to go see them.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because hard tickets is not, that is definitely something that's a tell-all when it comes to time. If you can get people to come out to your shows, it doesn't matter how many streams you have. Those are the people that you're seeing live. If you can do a tour, go to another space, do the same thing, that's showing improvement.
Yeah. How about how important is it to you that hip hop is on the Billboard charts?
Not important at all.
That's the common consensus on that one too. Although I have been expecting someone to play devil's advocate with me, and like maybe it matters a little bit if young people who just kind of want to do the popular thing no longer look at hip hop as the popular thing. I don't know.
Here's why I say, and this is where the devil's advocate comes from. I don't think it's important right now because I think what's more important are for people to understand with less resources what is needed in order to get you from A to B. Because we got into this system where like the conversation is right now, all these people, they're dropping all these different ads, they're doing all these different things, but people can't tell what's real.
Yeah.
We can though. Their hard ticket sales are real. There are a lot of huge artists that can't tour because although they have a plethora of different streams, they don't have actual connections with people.
Right. And on the other hand, there's a lot of indie artists who can tour because they have spent 20 years building those connections in various cities around the world. Yeah, definitely. How about this, man? How important is competition in hip hop? People feel real strongly about this most of the time.
I feel like healthy competition is necessary. I feel like also though, your driver is necessary. I feel like there's a lot of people from different generations where the driver can be different. Sometimes that's like, let's say if we're looking at the 50 Cent formula. He started his career, there was a lot of there's a lot of baiting at that time. You know what I mean? One way to get into the industry was just pure shock value. So like when he put out How to Rob, he got his foot in the door.
Right.
But like,
well, and even when you just mentioned the Jay-Z thing taking over, I mean, some of that is based off drama, right? Some of it's based off of that he's a legend who doesn't pop out to rap very much to us anymore. You know, so yeah, I think the drama and the beef definitely draws eyes and draws attention. And even, you know, the whole Kendrick Drake thing years ago, and I guess still kind of ongoing at this point. Just it amazes me how many people are jumping on the like, I'm going to analyze Drake and Kendrick's lyrics kind of bandwagon and like make content about that because that's what the people fucking love. That's, you know, maybe what the Toronto Underground, when we were talking earlier about like how does the Toronto Underground get mainstream recognition, maybe you guys just need to start dissing each other. You know? I hate to say it, but it seems like that's all people care about. People want the WWF, man.
I think that that's important in terms of like, I think being battle tested solidifies your legend.
Right.
I don't think, because for example, there's a plethora of different people that are battle tested, but like apart from that, you wouldn't listen to their personal music.
Right. Yeah, so, plenty of battle rappers can't make a song that I want to listen to.
You said it, and honestly, I stamp it.
Yeah. Dude, I don't love that. It kind of annoys me that like battle rap is the biggest fucking draw. It seems like the clips all do huge numbers, and like I don't mean to disrespect it completely, but it's a different thing than rapping on beats. Like it's a mix between like spoken word poetry and being a comedian, honestly. Like it's like stand-up comedy, and it's about coming up with funny punchlines and stuff. Like it's something, it's an art, it's a skill. It's like I can't say that these guys are talentless, but it's a different thing than rapping on beats and making songs that connect with people.
I think where like the focus is separate, it's like, for example, a comedian versus a comedy actor.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Like, not all comedians translate to the big screen.
Similar but different. There are some guys who can do both, but yeah.
Bingo. And those are usually the ones that have solidified their legend.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, even with the 50, although Beef propelled his status, his foundation is M and Dre.
Right.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
that was another reason people took notice for sure, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing with Hov. His foundation is Biggie.
Right.
Know what I mean? There's a lot of Biggie, what's his name? Jazzo. There's so many different intro points. Even Big L, while Big L was going up. Like,
right.
There's so many cosigns that, like, add on to that make it so that if you are battle tested, that will make or break it.
Yeah.
But that was also in an image derivative system where now it's mainly like the conversation and your prominence within like media. A battle can be good if healthy.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
I would agree. I don't want to see anybody else get killed over it. It gets scary when guys start, getting that street with it. A little rhyme battle is one thing, some shots here and there. Who was it? I saw somebody in a clip last week. I don't know. Somebody famous was talking about how they wished that maybe it was Hov. I don't know. How they wished that like Beef didn't have to end careers and get so. I think it was a Jay-Z clip that he was talking about how like that clip where he was talking about how Beef is like should be a thing of the past for hip hop or whatever, and how that it shouldn't ruin people's careers because it gets so personal or whatever. That's real easy for him to say after 15 years after he was talking about condoms on the baby seat or whatever the fuck.
And then right after that, he did the Roots picnic a little bit after that GQ interview.
Yeah, so, right. Sent shots too. So yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, duality. Yeah, people contradict themselves all the time. That happens. I can excuse it. Hip hop has so many words, it's tough to never contradict yourself. Sometimes you're just saying something you think in the moment, I think.
Bingo. Expression.
Yeah, man. How about this, dude? How important is making music that women are going to like?
Honestly, underrated question. I feel like that's very important.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people get caught up. I feel like it's also like, because me personally, I make boom bap, and outside of that, it's very experimental. All that stuff, like, I'm going to my girl and I'm going to all like my female friends and I'm asking them for their opinions.
Yeah.
Because like a woman's ear is important.
Yeah. That's 50% of the population, and arguably it's the half that's going to draw the other half in if they are already your
the
friends.
most important half. You're right.
Yeah.
That's where, because like you can survive off of this half because they're going to buy physicals, they're going to do their thing. However, when it comes to influence, you need this half. And if you're not making music that women feel comfortable listening to or resonate with, it's going to be hard to like really form a career that expands past the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a ceiling if all the music that you make is scary guy, tough music or whatever, right? Like straight up. You don't want to, colloquially, it's called scare the hose music. You know, that's not a term I tend to use, but yeah, it's out there.
Hose music, oxcore killers.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been at the shows where it's just a bunch of dudes in hoodies head nodding. And, you know, there's something to be said for those shows sometimes, but yeah, it's a little bit nicer to have a mixed crowd, I think.
Yeah.
As a continuation of that question, I guess, how important is having or finding the right romantic partner for an artist?
Yeah, bro, I think that's really important. Honestly, I think where it's hard for a lot of people is finding somebody that understands. But I think where that's important is your focus and discipline. I think it's pivotal to have routines, and it's pivotal to have like another ear when it comes to decision making. And it's definitely dope to have a support group and your homies around you. But like, I don't know, like if it's like an old folktale, but more times, every person I know, they'll tell you if they've been in a long-term relationship, your girl will know who shouldn't be around you before you'll know. Every time.
Yeah, they got the radar for that one. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that checks out too, in my experience in life, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like this is a universal fact where it's like there are things that I can focus and prioritize on, but you need to expand your perspective. You need a female's POV or a significant partner's POV in order to actualize what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let me ask you this. I haven't asked anybody else this how important question, but you incorporate melody into your songs in a way that when people talk about melodic rap, they're typically talking about like auto-tune trap stuff. But you actually have like a lot of melodic, you know, hooks, and you'll sing hooks and sing just like a bar here and there, even through the center of a verse or whatever. So how important is incorporating melody into your rap?
Really important. I feel like definitely when it comes to like song creation, one of the points of hip hop that really captivated me was how you can take the DNA of something and just like make this new creation that's like melodic in essence, but like it's rooted in this whatever what the sample came from or whatever was preserved at that time in terms of the feeling in the recording. Like those are all important to me when it came to like making all the albums that I put out, and when it came to figuring out the melodic aspect of my voice, I would say it kind of just made it a bit more like easier for me. I feel like naturally, because I'm not always listening to like rap music,
right?
I want to do something more. So like, even though, because I work on a different timeline. In terms of what currently I'm working on for myself, I'm in like late 2027.
Okay. So you've got it all planned until then, hey? Like you got the blueprint laid out. Nice.
You know what I mean? And there are sounds that people are going to hear from me that are new, but like because of the foundation I'm creating right now with what people are listening to, it's going to make sense. And I think having these incorporated into the practice of it was the same reason why I started rapping. It's just taking it another step forward. I started off with first doing poetry and also like playing in band and progressing into me rapping and producing.
Yeah.
So what are the things that I can use in order to take my sound a bit further? Okay, learn how to mix and master. Now, learning more different ways I can utilize the melodies in unconventional ways so that when I use them conventionally, I'm comfortable.
Right. You know, I skipped a question earlier. I was going to ask you about whether you think that knowing how to play instruments kind of plays into your emceeing at all. Like, obviously, it would play into the production part, but into the lyrical aspect of it as well. I think you kind of just touched on that. Yeah.
Definitely, because I would say I was naturally gifted when it came to like playing music. I can never ever read sheet music though.
Okay.
So everything I was doing was playing by ear.
Damn. That must have been tough in band class. What the fuck?
That's exactly why it was. So when I was in grade 9, I was one of maybe like 5 students that was in junior and senior band, but I was playing without sheet music.
Man, that's some next level shit. I don't understand how that works, but all the power to you, man. Dope. So do you think though, in how you structure lyrics, that same sensibility of what will work melodically kind of plays into it?
My ear. I would say it's definitely my ear and just like my memory bank. Because like also on top of that, like any of my homies' tracks, I can rap back to them. Anything that I've listened to, same thing.
Yeah.
Like I hear those and I separate each listen focusing on something different. It could be just the drum groove. It could be just the horn and the sample. And if I'm focusing on the lyrics, I can rap it back because these are things that like I'm not just like passively listening to or taking in. I'm always actively listening.
I bet a lot of lyricists are like that because I can relate to that element of being able to memorize raps quick, like other people's raps quick. And even like I've talked about it before on the pod, but like I have a tough time maintaining conversation if there's rap music playing in the background because my mind just locks on to what is being said over top of the beat that we're listening to. And, you know, it draws my mind away from the current conversation. So yeah, if I'm in like social settings where I've got to have a conversation, I'll try to play beats rather than play full songs or whatever, because I gravitate too much towards the lyrics for that to be distracting me like that.
You actually know that's actually interesting that you said that, because one way when like back in 2016 when we were just freestyling a lot, just like whether it be in my garage or on my homie's stoop, just falling up, like because we didn't have access to all the instrumentals that we needed, one way that we would practice is literally rapping over top of whatever was happening. We wouldn't care. We'd be like, what? This beat's crazy. But completely just tune out what was being said and just rap over top of it.
That's wild. I don't know if I could do that, man. Maybe on a song I've never heard before, but if you played me, you know, some Biggie song with him rapping his lyrics on it and asked me to freestyle over top of it, I think I'd be too drawn towards listening to his lyrics to be able to come up with my own shit off the top. Yeah, let me ask another couple of these how important questions though, bro. How important is you're smoking right now. How important is any particular substance to your creative process?
So my connection to Kush is pretty deep. I can comfortably say I'm a connoisseur when it comes to cannabis.
Connoisseur.
Connoisseur.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of dope connections with different brands. I have a lot of just knowledge on everything. And I'm also a bartender.
Nice.
So like when it comes to just like people that I work with, if they do smoke, usually, unless because like I also smoke with rubber, unless they don't smoke with tobacco, I'm usually putting them on to different things. I always have, so with the spliffs that I roll, I usually have a curated strain or two, a line of live rosin. Sometimes I'll also put in a little snake of hash, and yeah.
That would do it. Yeah, that sounds like that would do it. So, explain grabba to me. I know that it's tobacco, right? This mixed in? Yeah, okay.
Grabba is like it's like a tobacco leaf. The only difference is how it's cured. So during that process, there's two different types. You can either cure it with red herring oil, so fish oil.
Okay.
Or red rose oil.
Okay.
Both of them give it a very distinct flavor. In terms of when you're smoking it, it's much heavier than just like traditional tobacco, but it's much cleaner than just smoking like cigarettes and different things.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
It's in terms of how it's like, it's usually smoked. So like, they'll have like smokehouses in Jamaica where they'll just have all the leaves hung up and they're curing with the oils on them. After you have it, the actual smell of it kind of reminds you of like, how can I describe it? It's like a smoky barbecue flavor in terms of the smell.
Okay. Huh.
It's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to try that, man. But out here in the West, we just smoke pure bud. You know, my entire life I've met guys who come out from the East to work or whatever, and like they'll be mixing in tobacco, and like I've smoked some, call them spliffs or whatever, right? Like smoke them mixed with tobacco. But out here, man, I grew up where we always had just pure Kush. that was the way to go out in the West.
What's your favorite strain?
Oh man. Honestly, I like some sativas, man. I like Jack Herer, like Sour Diesel. So, yeah, you know, those are what I'm buying if I got the opportunity to. After everything went legal, though, everything got renamed, right? So, yeah, tough to know what you're buying and where to find it. But now everything's a hybrid, and lately I've been buying shit with CBD and mixing in CBD weed in with stronger strains, because I was finding that, like, you know, just 34% THC, fucking, I've smoked every day of my life since I was 14 years old. I'm 39 now, and still there are some of these strains that you get home and roll up and suddenly your heart's fucking pounding through your chest. It's just like, what is going on here? And then so I looked into it, and it's like, well, weed used to have CBD in it before the industry kind of took over and just started growing for the highest THC numbers. That's my understanding of it anyway. So yeah, lately I've been buying a good strain of sativa, good strain of indica, and then like a CBD strain that I end up mixing with either most of the time, unless it's like, you know, time to knock myself out or whatever. But yeah.
And are you usually getting like, are you usually getting it from the res, or are you usually getting it from like legal dispensaries?
A lot of the time legal dispensaries, but I've got some other connections who bless me, yeah. So it's maybe a 50-50 split, I'll say.
If I'm going to check out what y'all have available over there in terms of LPs, but I can definitely give you recommendations, because I know for sure, like, over here in terms of CBD flower, There's the Orchid runs. That one's really popular.
Yeah, we've had that one. There's one by like 454, I think is the name of the company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
You got 454. If in terms of just like flavor profiles, they have some of my favorite. They actually come from Nova Scotia.
Okay. And then
So,
the other
like,
CBD one I like is it was a brand called Plaid Trout that I can't find it anymore, but yeah, it was some good shit. And it would actually had like I think like around 15% THC in it. Like most of the THC strains have like very low THC. So
like 5 to 11%.
Yeah, right. So I didn't mind having a little bit more THC in there as long as there's some CBD as well. But
Do you guys have Simply Bear over there?
Doesn't ring a bell.
So Simply Bear Organic, they have a strain called Harlequin. Really, really nice balance. And it's also craft cannabis as well. So like, I would say the high is also pretty nice. Terpene count is dope.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm mainly looking for like, especially at this point, I'm usually just like strain hunting for different profiles.
Yeah.
So like, I remember 2025, I was on a huge like candy search. I would say like the best candy gas I've had on the market was Blue Pave. It's so distinct. It's so flavorful. Second and third would be from 454. They have a strain called Route 66. That one's really nice. That actual flavor profile after kind of reminds me of like Fruitopia.
Okay, nice.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then the last one was a region lock joint from 454 out in Scotia. It's called Go-Gurts. That shit was the most unique profile I've ever smoked in my life.
Damn.
It actually tasted like fucking frozen yogurt.
Nice.
Easy.
Yeah, nice. The tastiest bud that I can remember smoking was just before legalization. You could still order, an ounce in the mail or whatever, and it would show up on your doorstep, even though it wasn't officially legal. But I was ordering this shit from a grower out in like Nanaimo, BC, that was called Strawberry Jerry. And I forget the name of the grower, but the Strawberry Jerry was fucking nuts, man. That's like the legend I'll chase for the rest of my existence, trying to find something that tastes like that. It's just so potent strawberry flavor to it. It was like, what the fuck is
hold on. We gotta search, because you just brought me a name that I haven't seen before, and I usually, whenever I hear these, I just look up the lineage, because I'm like, there probably is something on the market that was renamed for that.
I hope so. I hope you can find it. That would be dope.
Strawberry, what is it? It's a crossover.
It was a sativa.
Wow. They're both unknown.
Damn. See, that's what I'm saying, man. It's my white whale. I'll be fucking hunting for that one forever.
Yeah, what the actual fuck?
Right?
It's crazy. Usually there's one lineage that acts as like the parent lineage, and then after that you have something that you cross it with for the numbers or for the taste. But one of them is usually available. Like for example, with Comatose, that's an OG Kush crossed with an unknown lineage.
Okay.
Or same thing with Pink Kush.
Yeah.
Like with
OG
all of
Kush
these
crosses with a bunch of different things.
Exactly. But just like you're saying, the actual like the spectrum of indica to sativa for me is non-existent.
Well,
I feel like
everything's hybridized so much now, right? Unless you're finding some magical landrace pure strain from way back.
that plus the feeling that you get from the Kush in terms of the effects is usually derivative of the terpenes included in it.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So like usually a lot of gassier strains will have a breakdown of like peripheline, myrcene, and linalool.
Right.
Carifulline is derivative of like black pepper. Myrcene is a bit more of a fruitier terpene. And then linalool is, I think, of lime.
Yeah. I was going to say, isn't limonol?
Limonene, yes.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah. Something like that. I
forget which one linalool is.
If I see the citrus one, the lumamine or whatever it's called, that I'll gravitate towards that a lot of the time because I like a nice citrusy bud. Yeah.
Yeah, so you like stuff like that. If you ever see a terpene called germicine, that one also is really citrusy. Guanine, a bit more rare, but that one's like more of a guava profile. But it's sick. It's also really nice in certain strains.
Yeah, dude, I didn't expect to get into the weed talk with you like this. That's dope. You know, not a lot of guys pay that much attention to their strains, but I guess if you said you're a bud tender, and you know, when you said you were a bud tender, it made me think. I've always said that like indie artists who are bartenders or work at bars throughout my history of knowing artists, they're the ones who are most successful because they're out there shaking hands. They're out there talking to people. They're, you know, where party people like to be. So it's easy for them to make a lot of friends and like sell tickets to their shows or whatever. I always thought that was a bit of a cheat code, but maybe the bud tender is equal to that, or, you know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would say so because it's about, because like with a bartender, you can be a sick bartender and still have the level of conversation gauged by the volume of the music.
Right.
As a bud tender, I'm hearing people's problems and different things all the time.
And if it's the middle of the day, you might actually have 10 minutes to stand and talk to them or whatever, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm always encountering different people, whether they work at like in high levels of different industries or they're just starting up. And because of that balance, especially in terms of where I'm at in the city, like it makes for a lot of a easier experience, especially because of the knowledge that I offer when I'm at the store.
Right.
Know what I mean? Damn. I'm a lot of people's go-to guy when it comes to bud tender.
Yeah, I mean, you sound pretty knowledgeable to me, man. I was just thinking, shit, I should go down and pick up some part-time hours. Right now, I don't have any side gig right now. This is, you know, it's all towards promoting Canadian hip hop, but I could use a little bit of a paycheck here and there, so maybe I should go become a bud tender at some place, man. With my name Doobyis, I think they'd probably shake my hand and put me in.
Bingo.
Put me in, coach.
As a matter of fact, we gotta get you up to Toronto because, like, even for example, right before this interview, small tangent, I got these two strains. One is called Blue Zushi. Really, really nice indica. And then after that, one is really interesting. It's actually, it's a strain I've never seen before, and the lineage I haven't seen before either. It's called Autumn Sunset, and it's a cross between Chimera No. 4 and Dippin' 6.
Okay.
Usually when I see shit like that, I'm like, all right, I need to try it.
Is that what you're smoking right now?
Yeah. I just finished my squeezo of the Autumn Sunset. That shit was amazing. It was really sweet profile.
I've been really jealous this whole time. I used to smoke in my apartment, and then one time I smoked too many blunts in a weekend, and somebody reported me, so I got the strike on my tenant record, and now I go upstairs to smoke on my balcony. But yeah, that'll be my first stop after we end this interview for sure. Here, let's, before I let anybody go, man, you know, this has been fun talking. I'm sure we could continue this conversation for hours here, but let's wrap this thing up here. We're sitting at almost 2 hours right now. So before I let anybody go, though, I ask the same set of questions. Can you describe your local hip hop scene?
Healthy, flourishing, expanding. Yeah.
How about shouts to artists on the scene, or the wider national scene, if you like, that people should be up on, who maybe people aren't paying enough attention to? We've said a lot of names throughout the course of this interview, so they should probably check all of them too. But yeah,
definitely said a lot of names, but I think for the sake of time, I'm going to keep it with the gang. Yeah, shout out to all the homies on the roster. Definitely, like, it's been a long time coming in terms of formation of the squad and all the different things that brought us all together. And like, yeah, shout out to...
Sounds like you built a solid team, man, just from, all the people you've referenced throughout this talk and the various lanes they've helped you with or whatever. It sounds like a solid team coming together.
Honestly, yeah. Like, there's no part of this process that could get done without either one of them. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, shout out to the squad. Shout out to, just like we were talking about before, Kills. Shout out to Roshan.
Hey, Fresh Kills is on the show next week. Next Tuesday, I'm talking to Kills and Meyer Clarity about their new album, OCDC, which is dope as fuck. People should definitely go check that out.
There you go. Yeah. Well, there you go. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, yeah, I think both of us just landed CDC.
Damn.
So, nice. Like, shout out to Kills and Meyer Clarity. They also just did their tour. Some of the homies on the squad went out on the road with them. I did Sophia and Celine. And after that, at the Hamilton stop, it was Crooks, Joey Rose, and Heartbeats. So, like, yeah, Kills is always holding up space for the man, and I feel like definitely we appreciate that. But also, shout out to the OGs, shout out to Switch B, shout out to Andel, aka B Bad, shout out to Fate, fucking shout out to, yeah, everybody that's helped out with the process.
Hell yeah.
Fucking GTR forever.
Fuck yeah, man. How about name another Canadian artist you'd like to collab with that you still haven't worked with? Breathe something into existence here.
This is hard because I've worked with a lot of people.
Fair. Last year on After the Smoke is Clear, I played 507 different Canadian artists, so I assure you that there's some out there probably still worth working with. Yeah.
Honestly, for a full LP, I want to work with Eloquent for sure.
Oh, yeah, that would be dope.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
just also because I'll tie this into the shout outs as well. Another exclusive. So after CNC, we're probably going to be putting out Deluxe, and then after that we have the next trilogy already done.
Damn. Extra tracks on the Deluxe of CNC?
Extra tracks on the Deluxe, remixes.
Oh, nice.
I'm excited for that shit. There's also going to be a pretty significant event being announced soon attached to that, so look out for that. But in terms of the people that I want to shout out from the next trilogy, shout out to Vinny Cousins. You know what I mean? Fucking monster producer. He has 2 joints on Cartoons and Serial, actually. So shout out to Vinny Cousins. Shout out to Pudge God. Know what I mean? And then lastly, again, Switch B.
Right on. Where can people find you on social media most often?
You can find me on Instagram, find me on YouTube. You also got the website, www.Ghostown Records, GHOSTOWN records.ca.
Nice. For the YouTube version, I'll make sure that that's flashing across the top of the screen every once in a while here. Yeah.
Respects.
Speaking of, hey, actually, I just noticed you've got your government name on the screen there. Do you want me to block that out with your artist name for the YouTube version?
Yeah, sure. I didn't even take that in.
Okay, I'll do that. Perfect. Yeah. All right, man. This has been fun. Appreciate you spending time to do this. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, man. Amazing conversation. And thanks again.
Hell yeah. Anytime, man. Keep making music. I'll keep playing it on After the Smoke is Clear. Although I will say, feel free to send it over to me, Doobyis@gmail.com. Save me a buck here and there. I'm always happy to have you back on the show. If you've got something to talk about, let me know, man.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll shoot you over an email with the press kit. It has all the music that you'll need.
Hey,
I'll send you over some of the upcoming joints that are going to be coming out. Get your opinions on that. And yeah.
Dope, man. Appreciate that a lot. All right, dude.
Sir.
Peace.
Peace.
There it is, Ghostboyrj RJ. Long time coming that I got to have a conversation with him. Been playing his music for a long time. Where's my other hoodie string? I think it's hiding behind my mic stand. Anyways. Like I said, next week, Tuesday, I am talking to Fresh Kills and Meyer Clarity. They've both been on the show before, have some sort of relationship with them, definitely friends of the show. You know what? Actually, I've collaborated with Meyer Clarity. We haven't released the song, but I swear I'm gonna. And if Meyer's watching this, I swear I'm gonna. But so June 16th, that's happening. We haven't locked down the time for it, but normally either 3 or 7 Mountain Time, depending whether people are working day shifts or night shifts, or whether they're busy one time or the other. June 23rd, I'm catching back up with Def 3, West Coast-based legend who has been doing his best to introduce boom bap lyricism to the EDM crowds across the country and beyond. Since I talked to him last, looking forward to catching up there and seeing how that's been going. Well, I think, from what I see in the social media clips. And then the last one for the first half of the season on June 30th, I talked to Edmonton-based emcee K-Blitz. That should be fun. I've also had him on the show before. That was a great chat that we had then. I'm looking forward to another one. Then I take 2 months off through July and August, and I get back to weekly interviews every Tuesday. Right here, twitch.tv/Doobyis is where you can catch them live. If you want to listen to After the Smoke is Clear, the mix show where I play only Canadian hip-hop that I mentioned at the start of this interview 2 hours ago, you can find that at mixcloud.com/Doobyis. I encourage you to. There is so much talent across the country being slept on. It is a goddamn shame. I do what I can every week here on the interview series and over there on the mix show to just get as much new music in as many new ears as possible and try to build this scene up into something more interconnected and sustainable for artists to exist in. It's a lofty dream, but it's one that I stay in constant pursuit of. And I appreciate everybody for coming through, chatting in Twitch. Feel free to drop questions if you're in the next live interview. I'm always here to read chat. And you can always find everything I do at Doobyis.com. That's the hub. Appreciate y'all. Peace.